place. You get my point? Before they decide to, you know, take some sort of action or you know what I mean, get in somewhere. They would wait until it really gets to a point where it's bad. And at that time, it's, you know, when it gets to the point where it's that bad, then, you know, it's not only could it be kind of late, but it also is, you know, last minute. You never want to be last minute going into anything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Who knows if it'll even get to that point? You know, maybe my internet start acting up ASAP. Lord. Hold on. Let me see if I get this thing straight here. All right, Lord allow it stay up. Battery up, everything up. Somehow my service might be a little bit off. All right.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was teaching our sister about Joseph and Mary, right? How they had sex and with a child, right? You know, the scriptures and
right, because of course you told her you were Joseph and she was Mary, right? let's both make the Trinidadian Jesus.
Right, yeah. So I mean, so why is teaching her now? I don't know. She might be taking talk from other people and just didn't really understand, even though I gave her the scriptures. So the last time I asked her, she said she didn't read the scripture that I gave her yet. But so I write it down this time and I gave her it. And then while we was walking, I said, you know what's the problem? The Christian church has turned the Bible into a fairy tale book. All right? And our brother was right there. So he said, yes, the Bible is a fairy tale book because people in the Bible could have walked on water. So what should I tell him in a response like that? He said, yes, it is a fairy tale book because we walked on water. And so,
well, which fairy tale has somebody walked on water? That would be my first challenge. This was a brother or this was a heathen?
Our brother.
Okay, with somebody like that, you have to challenge them step by step. Is a skill with challenging somebody like that. Or let me rephrase that. Is a skill with responding to a challenge with someone like that. It has to be step by step. And some in that situation, I would not ignore him for the sake of, you know, okay, you teach the sister stuff. If she asks you a question, you spilling the truth on her, and he walks by and says that. So now it leaves it open where if you don't check him, not him personally, but the fight he's bringing, all your work before is negated. So I would definitely take that on, and I would say, well, listen, which fairy tale did anybody walk on water? Which fairy tale did somebody bring anybody back from the dead? Like you saying the Bible is a fairy tale book, yet still you don't find nothing strange about iPhones. You don't find nothing strange about going into a big metal ship and the ship taking off and traveling, you know, 50,000 feet above the earth. You get the point? Like right. you believe in the white man's power, but you call a black man's power fairy tale. You get the point? Like I would take it there with him. I would take it to the point where there's things that happen that we do every day that's okay, 50 years ago would have been considered a miracle. 100 years ago, you might have been burnt at the stake because that's witchcraft. Like imagine you go back 100 years, brother, and you put you Skype somebody 100 years ago, where this person come up on the screen and they're talking to you. People would run from the TV. You understand?
Yeah.
Like people would, it would be like, wow, how in the hell is you doing this? Is this a fairy tale? Nah, this is not a fairy tale, it's the spirit of the Lord. You understand? It's the spirit of the Lord. You just don't know what you're talking about. And I begin to hammer him how he loves the white man and would respect everything else but black people's culture. You understand? It would respect everything else but black people's culture. Right? No. But of course, somebody like that, let me ask you, he just walked past you and he said it and kept going, right?
Right. Kind of, yeah, what happened as I was talking there, he just came, he heard, and we walked straight, and he made a left. After he made that statement, he made a left turn and towards our walking straight. Yeah.
Right? Oh, you just when you know, well, why are you running? If it's a fairy tale, you wouldn't run. You would stand up right here, and you would prove me wrong. Right? That's easy enough. But if it's a fairy tale, prove me wrong. Stand up right here and show me it's a fairy tale. You wouldn't just throw a stone and run. You would stand up and you would prove your point. Right? You could even do that as well. Because it would take that, because of how the island is and because of that region you're in, it would take a certain amount of I want to say conflict, but okay, you're gonna have to bring your proof to people. You get my point?
Right.
In order for them to really take you seriously. And added to that, you are going to have to you're gonna have to bring your proof in a certain type of way for them. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to bring it in a certain type of way, and then people are gonna start. It's just a matter of warming somebody up, warming a region up. That's how it always is in any place you any truth that we've been to before. It's always a warm up a period, you know, a period of acceptance where they're gonna have to, you know, have to give them time to accept what you're saying because they've been indoctrinated so strong before into Christianity, into white supremacy. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And so like in this school we don't really force nobody to join us, right? I was saying that because in the wake with my rib's grandmother who passed away, her uncle is a Muslim, and he was mostly talking about, he's a Muslim, and he mostly talking about Moses and Jesus.
Right.
He never mentioned Allah. So in my mind I was saying, wow, should I actually tell him that? Well, from Babylon to Timbuktu, I know from Muhammad.
Right.
Hold
on there. Your time out. You say after you say he only talking about Moses and Yahushua, you went out a little bit. Just repeat what you said.
Right. How he was only speaking about Moses and Yahushua. He never mentioned Allah. So in my mind, I was saying, should I mention to him how Muhammad is a false prophet who stole biblical doctrine? I'd have books proving that. I said I would just stay quiet because I don't want to force no one, you know.
I would not pass up the opportunity to kick the truth to him. Right. However, I wouldn't go at him. The strategy to go at someone like that. Now, if a Muslim is coming up and he is me, that's an attack back. You understand? So this is what I would do in that situation. You're at the wake, you're at the family wake, you know what I mean, or the funeral or whatever, and he talking about, you know, Moses and Yahushua and blah, blah, blah. You could ask him, say, wait, now, ain't you a Muslim? Why is you only talking about the Bible? Why ain't referencing the Quran? And of course, he'll begin to give you the Muslim reasons for the Quran, for the Bible versus the Quran, which is all it comes up to is that the Quran is garbage without the Bible. The Quran needs the Bible to give it validation because the Bible is the only valid book on the earth. And that's where Ishmael comes from. And they're going to say that the law, Moses' law, was Moses' law. So they're going to have to refer to the Bible. And once he brings the Bible in, then you start to go into, well, listen, the Lord said, kick Ishmael out. Hey, guys, the mother of the bond, she's the bond woman. You are not Arab first to begin. And now you start kicking the truth to him like that versus attacking him, because what happens is that, okay, especially with Islam, with Christianity is a little bit different. But especially with Islam, when you battling a Muslim like that, a brother who he's sincere in the Islam, the battle is not you're coming up against, it's not a battle back and forth. That there is more like surgery, where you're cutting him out of Islam. You understand? It's like you performing surgery where you slicing him out of Islam. Because this brother, he really sincere about the Lord. He just following a false doctrine. So you're going to have to now kick him the truth, and it's like surgery. It's not a battle where you crushing Islam, and to crush Islam, you're going to have to crush him. It's not there yet. You get the point? Now, if after you kicking it to him, he start bucking up against the shit and, you know, disrespecting the Lord, disrespecting Christ, which is what every Muslim turns to do once you don't accept the shit, then you would start digging into the shit. You get the point? Then you would start with Muhammad is a false prophet. Allah is a stone. He's a rock. You get the point? Then you do that. But he is a brother still. So now with that benefit, you want to win him over first before you make him an enemy. You understand? You want to win him over before you make him an enemy. So now you engage him like a brother. You engage him. And of course, you're going to be, you engaging him not as however he know you. He know you by your slave name and through your rib. But you engaging him as Trooper Galawan, as a brother who is studying to become a priest of the Lord. You engaging him as a member of the I.S.U.P.K. So now, all that riding on your back, you're going to have to do it like that for the sake of trying to gain the brother. You're trying to fish him. That's fishing. Just like the whole thing with fishing, you put the bait in the water. When you feel the jerk on the line, the fish bite the bait. And you start pulling. You don't pull up violently because your force versus the fish force going in the other way, you could get away. You pulling them in. Then you give him some rope, let him swim around. He's tired of himself beating up. Then you start to pull him in again. Pull him in, you relax, let him swim around, beat up himself, pull him in again, pull him in. Before long, he in your pot and he don't even know what's going on. You get the point? So that, like in that situation, that's how I would deal with him. Because from what you say, he ain't never really come at you in no kind of full out disrespectful way. Right?
No.
Right? So you treat him with the same brotherhood. Because at the end of it, he may not agree with you right there on the spot, but it's in him that you represent the Bible and the Lord, and you telling him he's the real 12 tribes of Israel and not no Arab, and you against the Arabs, you're against Islam, but you're not against him. So when he leaves there, that's going to stay with him. That's going to bother him. And he going to start coming and calling you and asking you questions. Because you treat him like a brother who's just lost. You get the point? So that's how you do it. Now, if it is he coming up to, challenge you, open both barrels. Right? That's what I would do. I'd open both barrels if it's a full out. Well, hold on, he's challenging me to this thing. I would open both barrels without thinking twice.
Right. And so like with that saying, it have nothing unlawful to go, well, a Christian funeral or a Muslim funeral. It have nothing unlawful to go.
Okay, well, according to the law, let me get it for you, all right? It's give me, is it Leviticus or Numbers? Where is nearest of kin? Do as a trooper in school, soon to be an officer, what you want to do is just get permission to go. You want to get permission first before you go. You understand?
Right.
Because what's the law according to someone dying in your family?
Okay, I know that one.
Not that. What's the law? What's the law with coming in contact with the dead?
So I think you're unclean. You'll be unclean for 7 days.
Exactly. You unclean for a whole week. You understand?
Okay.
You're unclean for a whole week. And okay, you have a certain amount of responsibilities as a trooper so far. Could you imagine being an officer, teacher, and going to camp, and we have to lose you for a whole week because some cousin who you don't know, who don't you all ain't close, die.
Okay.
So what you want to do is get permission. Same thing with your Hawashai and I believe it's Peter. 1 second, let me pull it up for you. Give me Matthew chapter 8.
Matthew chapter 8.
Right? Give me Matthew chapter 8. Go ahead. 8 and Salakia. 8 and start at 20.
8 and 20. And Jesus said unto him, the foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man have not where to lay his head.
Right?
Have nowhere to lay his head.
So he's saying, the animals are taken care of, but me, the Son of Man, it's because of not being accepted by everybody. You get the point? The work he's doing, he is not recognized for what he's doing. And because he's not recognized, he has to go here, there, and everywhere and moving around. You get the point? Go ahead.
And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father.
Right? So now this is a brother who came into the truth with him. I want to believe it's Peter. Right? I want to believe it's Peter. All right? And he said, listen, he said, before I decide to follow you, right? Because that's what Christ was telling him. Listen, this walk ain't for everybody, right? I don't have a place to lay my head. We're going to be moving around and doing everything. We're going to be rocking and rolling on the road, all right? Before I decide to follow you, allow me to go and bury my father. My father died. Let me go bury my father first. Now, this is his father. All right, go ahead.
Okay. But Yahushua said unto him, follow me, and let the dead bury their dead.
All right, what does that mean?
Well, so like, from what I got, it means the dead, meaning the people not in the truth, bury
right
the literal dead body.
That's it. Meaning, okay, Yahushua started his work at around 30 years old, right? And he had 3 years to do everything. Right? He had 3 years to build up, to teach, to go everywhere and do all his miracles. He could not afford to lose one of his disciples for a week. You get the point?
Okay.
Miak, or you
go.
Right? He could not afford to lose one of his disciples for a week. Looking for the law on the death. House of the dead, near kin. Because according to the law, if it is you come in contact with a dead body or in the house where a dead body is, you're unclean for a week. You get the point? So the law concerning a priest is that he is only allowed to go to a funeral for near kin, meaning his father, his mother, his sister, his brother. Aunties and uncles and grandparents don't count. That don't count. You get my point? So now in your situation is a bit different. You're a trooper, you do the flyer detail. You're not running a camp. You're not in a physical class with everybody else. You're not in a school where this is the school established where you be unclean and you coming in contact with somebody else would be unclean. I would still, if you need to go for your rib's sake, because it's what, her grandmother or her mother?
Grandmother.
Her grandmother, right? You might need to go for her sake to give her some, some support or emotional support as a man there. When is the funeral?
Sometime in the week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. From
Wednesday,
Monday, we'll know for sure.
I would go for her sake. If you have to. Now, if you don't have to go and your rib, she just want to go just to help her family, or she ain't really torn up over the shit, then you don't have to go. Right? But if you go, it's your situation. Now, in time, once that school is built up and you running it, your time away from the work will impact the school. You get the point?
Okay.
So because of that, you have to watch what would make you unclean. Right? Funerals is, that's a week off of the work, which sometimes you can't afford it because you're the most experienced man. You take into the streets. You need to be there for the young men to be able to be on the street. You understand? Right? Now, if it's same thing where with your woman, some days you can't lay with your woman because you'll be unclean for the next day, and the next day is important. The next day is camp. The next day is class. The next day is a high holy day. So of course, you're gonna have to chill out. You're gonna make her understand she had to chill out. You get my point? So it's relative. Well, what you want to do is you want to get in the habit of getting permission for everything that will take you away from your work. Now, if it is if you're doing something on your own time, then that's on your own time. But let's say you're going out of town, you're going out of the country, and you're gonna be going for over a week to the point where your day where you'll normally do camp or class or your flyers or whatever duty you do for the school. Because you're away, you can't do it, then you definitely get permission to get leave, to be granted permission, just like the disciple asked Christ permission and he was denied. You understand? So now in this case, it's your call if you want to go or not, because it's not really going to impact the running and the function of the school and how things go. You get my point? All right, but within time, when a few more brothers come in with you, those brothers you're pulling in, and of course you're gonna be the senior guy, the senior brother. You're gonna be a full-out priest of the Lord. You're gonna have to watch those things that would take you away from the work of the Lord. But in everything, seek counsel. That's what the Bible says. In all things, seek counsel. All right, in all things, seek counsel. You get the point? All right. Damn, I can't believe I'm probably misquoting the words. Near kin, nearest kin. 1 second. Trying to find that law for you, brother.
And Salakia, we don't cremate a custom, we are just bury.
It's not our custom to cremate. It's not our custom to cremate. People in the world do it. But it's not our custom to cremate. Our custom is to put the body back into the earth where it came from.
Okay.
Now, if your family doing the cremation, I wouldn't say nothing about it. Yeah, that's them. Once again, let the dead bury their dead.
Okay.
That's it. You're a priest of the Lord. You know what I mean? You gonna be living forever anyway. Lord forbid something do happen like that. Brothers will bury you. We had a brother in the school, Ibarra. Ibarra was an older brother, probably in his 70s, maybe close to 80 even. And the brother, he passed on. He passed away a few years ago, and we buried him in the way a priest is buried. There's a whole procedure for it, wrap him in the shroud, everything like that. And he was buried like how a priest gets buried. You understand?
So it's like a coffin and put in the ground, right?
Yeah. That's how a priest gets buried. But there's a few more things within the procedure of digging the hole and all that type of stuff. Where it goes, the time period from the death, like it has to be done until a certain time. So there's a procedure for it. But if this is people in the world and it's a relative and they ain't in the truth, let them do what the hell they had to do. You know what I mean? Like that don't really concern you. You get my point? That don't concern you as much. All right? You good to go?
Can.
All right, cool. Onto the East Indians, onto the plague of plagues, which is the East Indian community. All right? The plague.
That's the one you sent to me last week, right?
Okay, so we're going to start with that one from last week. Because we started it last week, but we didn't finish it, right? We just got maybe the first paragraph in.
Right.
All right, so we're going to start with that one from last week. We're going to go back and forth with the one I just sent you to read. And then I also have some information to back up with the one from last week as well. So let's start with that one. And then we go from there.
So like I still hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Good.
Right.
I think it's just the picture might go out now because they pull up the article. All right, so on that article, you're going to scroll down. Don't start reading from that first paragraph, but you're going to scroll down to, the first part of the article is the Asian Chinese dynasty. That's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
I'm looking for dynamics of Indian arrival.
Okay.
You really want to go.
Start from dynamics of India, right?
Right. I want to believe I started.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just scroll up. Now that's it. Dynamics of Indian arrival.
Right. Come on. In his book titled A Post-Emancipation History of the West Indies, in 1975, Professor Isaac Duhan suggests that immigration to the Caribbean was very attractive to the Indians for the following reasons.
Right. So once again, immigration, not slavery. All right. The East Indians immigrated to the Caribbean. Right.
Right.
They were not brought as slaves. So once again, that's major difference number one. That's the major difference. And really, for all intents and purposes, that's the only difference here that really matters. Right? One was a worker, an employee. The other was a kidnapped slave. All right? Go ahead.
Okay. The establishment of the British factory system in India had destroyed Indian domestic industries, including the spinning of cloth, and tens of thousands were thrown out of work.
All right. So now this here is keeping up with world history. All right, because around this time, the Industrial Revolution had reached a peak. The Industrial Revolution started in the 1700s and reached a peak. So it greatly affected the Indian subcontinent, right? The Indian subcontinent is made up of, you know, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. All right, that whole area, they call it the Indian subcontinent. Right now, we're gonna keep reading, but of course we're gonna break off and go into some more history of what was going on in India at the time. And brother, you will see why it's so evil what them East Indians came and did, and then turn around and act like fault. It's ridiculously evil, and our leaders, you had to hold them responsible for not teaching us this, because this is why we always open up to them and they never open up to us. All right?
Okay.
Go ahead.
2. Famine due to fallen crops and high food prices. Right. 3. The promise of land for themselves.
So they had the Industrial Revolution combined with famine and failing crops, high food prices. So they were starting to get poor. They started to get poor. Famine, the promise of land for themselves. Black people were not promised land. We were kidnapped and put to work on a land that we would never own. Even after slavery was so-called abolished with the whole sharecropping and everything like that, we still had to work for someone, slave for someone. These bastards got land. They were called crown estate or crown lands, I think. They were called crown lands that they were able to buy after working a few years of their indentureship. Their indentureship was, in essence, a contract they would sign to work for a few years. You're going to see some more of it as we read on. Keep going.
The promise of higher wages in Trinidad and Guyana. In India, laborers were paid between 1.5 to 2.5 pence a day. In Trinidad, they could earn 2 shillings a day, and in Guyana, 1 shilling and 9 pence a day.
All right. So the reason they mentioned Trinidad and Guyana is because Trinidad and Guyana were the 2 destinations in the Caribbean and the Americas that accepted the majority of the East Indian laborers. All right. I think Trinidad, it was somewhere around 150,000 over the whole period of their migration. Guyana was like 250,000 of them. All right, not all at once, but their migration lasted something like 70 years, I believe. 70 years, 1845 to 1920 or something like that, or 1930, somewhere around there. We'll get to it. But Trinidad and Guyana were like it was like America. It was like America for East Indians. It's like for Benjamites, everybody want to go to New York. Right. I go to New York like for a Benjamin, there ain't nowhere else in America but New York. Right? Everybody who ever leave the island, leave Trinidad, Jamaica, go in one place. Flatbush, Nostrand. And that's it. Yeah, anybody ever missing from the island, you want to find them, just go Brooklyn. There's somewhere around it. All right? But for the East Indian, Trinidad and Guyana was, land of opportunity. Right? Because in their country at that time when they were leaving, around 1845, around the mid-1800s, they were being paid 1.5 pence a day. Right? Just to make you understand the increase, they were paid 1.5 pence a day, but in Trinidad they could earn 2 shillings a day. In Guyana they could earn 1 shilling and 9 pence. So let's translate that to dollars. Right? Let's just say a pence is $1. So in India, they would earn $1.50 to $2.50 a day. 12 pence make 1 shilling. So in Trinidad, they was making 24 pence a day. You get the point? And in Guyana, they was making was 12 and 9 is 21 pence a day in Guyana versus $1.50 back in India. That make good sense, right? Why would I work for $1.50 a day when I could make $24 a day? You understand? Like that's you know, that's a ridiculous increase. Like today, the average decent slavery $100 a day, right? The average decent slavery would give or take $100 a day. Now you taking that and multiplying that by something like 24. Imagine you making $2,400 a day instead of 100. That's the allure, the attraction had to the East Indians. All right, keep going.
All right. 5. Criminals escaping from police and afraid of returning to the village, as well as loafers, could go to the colonies.
Right? Criminals escaping from the police, people who don't want to return, loafers from the colonies, from all the other loafers who in that area in India to the to those colonies, whichever British colony. Now, this is what you have to understand. India was also a British colony, right? India was also a British colony. This time, I think here is a good time to jump across. We'll come back to this article, right? We'll come right back to this article. Let me just scroll down and see if I need anything else right now. Not right now, but we're going to come back to this article, all right?
Right.
So from you could pull up the other one in the meantime, Galawan. All right. So now from what we just covered, you could gather that you know the East Indians, they were poor, right? Because they was working for $1.50 a day. You know, poverty would make what crime, right? Because they were poor, they had crime, and you know some of the criminals, they're trying to get a better you know, trying to get money, so they would go work also. They also talk about famine due to failing crops and high food prices. So now, the way how this history is written, you would think, damn, them East Indians were suffering. That's why they always say what? We just like you all. We was poor. The only thing is we came to Trinidad and worked hard, and your people did not. Don't they say that? Right or wrong? That's what they say, right? You like we came to Trinidad and we worked hard, but your people were just lazy and didn't work hard. So let's go back now and see what was really going on in India at the time. So give me the Industrial Revolution in India. All right, the Industrial Revolution in India, or you could even say the effects of the Industrial Revolution in the world on India. All right. You could start reading from that first paragraph, Galawan, where it says, even though India had various economic activities.
Right. Even though India had various economic activities that contributed to its economy, the textile industry was a dominant contributor.
Right. Textile was the dominant thing in India. Just like in the Caribbean, what was the dominant commodity before? Sugarcane, rum. In America, it was cotton. In India, textile was the dominant contributor, meaning fabric, clothing, right? Not just clothes, not clothing like, you know, their style, but the material. Material was India, you know, bread and butter, bro. Bread and butter. All right, go ahead.
Prior to Industrial Revolution, India had an internationally acclaimed cotton textile industry and exported to different parts of the world, including Europe,
go ahead,
Middle East, and the Americas, among others.
Right? Prior to the Industrial Revolution, India was, you know, world recognized for their textile industry. And, you know, they're spinning, you know, fabric with their foot, driving a donkey around to turn something to spin the fabric. And they're making buku money, brother. Guap. Right? They're making guap money. You get the point? They're making that big paper because they're producing what the world recognizes as the finest quality of textile, of material. All right? And they said India had an internationally acclaimed cotton textile industry. What are we talking about here? Let me see if you're with me, brother, because listen, you're going to say I have something against these East Indians. I do. I admit. Confession is good for the soul. But they oppress us. Okay. It's a British colony, and they have an acclaimed cotton textile industry.
Clothes out of cotton, making clothes out of cotton.
And what was one of the commodities coming out of slavery?
Picking cotton.
Cotton was a commodity of slavery. The other commodities was rum, sugar cane, sugar, right? Things came out of the slave trade, right? East Indians were making textiles from cotton and was taking over the world with it, right? Read the next line.
In fact,
go ahead.
In 1750, India is documented to have dominated the world's cotton textile market.
Read it again.
In fact, in 1970, in 1750, India is documented to have dominated the world's cotton textile markets.
In 1750, India dominated, brother. Now, could you imagine Apu in 7-Eleven dominating anything? Right? I know you ain't go get the analogy Galawan, but brother, they be in the stores up here, in the gas stations behind that thick bulletproof glass, talking the most shit out. I mean, you go in there to pay for gas. You might be on the phone. Your brain might be heavy with something, and you know, you counting your money out, and they hurry up. What happened? You dumb? You stupid? Like they're talking the most shit because you can't reach in there and squeeze the life out of them. You get the point?
Oh, God.
And I know you experienced it already in Trinidad with the shit they be talking. Like 1 minute they're your friend, next minute you're a bunch of hyenas. Your race of people is a bunch of monkeys. Y'all could never do anything. You're lazy, you're this, you're that. These bastards dominated the world cotton textile markets, being a British colony. They probably grew some cotton, but some cotton also came from that slave trade. You get the point?
Done.
And they were spinning it into material that they were selling for big money. This is prior to the Industrial Revolution, right? Prior to, you know, your machines and your big engines and your factories. Their labor force was largely agricultural and textile makers. All right, keep going.
All right, come on. India's textile industry thrived because it had access to cheap labor that resulted in high quality but low price calicos.
Calicos, right? The calicos is that's what they call the cotton material. Like you have a whole bolt of cotton cloth, they call that a calico. All right. So now India, they had cheap labor, but of course, you know, exchange rate, it's cheap for Britain, but it's good money for India. You get the point?
All right.
So they was able to make the highest quality cotton textiles, but they price it so low that they was able to run the market international because, of course, the Europeans coming and buying it for the low and selling it for the high over there. Buy for one, sell for two. You get the point?
Right.
So now they was able, brother, the world was going to India for cotton material, right? Like they, in terms of fabric, they was the oil giants of the world. You get the point? Right, keep going.
It is no wonder that the Indian calicoes were popular in Britain, the end of the 17th century.
Right, keep going.
However, after the Industrial Revolution, the table was turned as the textile imports to Britain were hurdled by stringent tariffs and other protectionist policies.
Right, so now, after the Industrial Revolution, the table was turned on the textile imports. Right, the Industrial Revolution was that whole process was around from the mid 1700s to the early 1800s. So we're talking around 1750 to around 1835, 1840, somewhere around there, maybe even 1850. So within that period of time, Britain was starting to, you know, invest heavily in machines and new products and chemical manufacturing, right? Iron production processes, steam power, machine tools, factory systems that would increase the productivity of a process line, of a factory line. You understand? So no more you gotta, get 2 donkey and about 50 East Indian children or 50 slum dogs to spin some cotton. You get a factory, some coal in there and some steam, and that thing spin out everything. Let's think like that. You get the point? So now, with that coming into play, and of course, India's their major export being the cotton. The white man wants the cotton, but of course, if he could make it cheaper and faster, he ain't going just out of the goodness of his heart continue paying that low price they was getting for such a high quality material. He would go lower. If the white man could get raw material for free, he will. What's the proof?
Slavery.
That's the proof. The proof is slavery. But of course, he did not enslave the East Indians, but he enslaved us. So now the Industrial Revolution came into play. The East Indian hold on the world's market was coming to an end. All right? In addition, the importing stuff to Britain were hurdled by the stringent tariffs and protectionist policies. In other words, embargoes. Trade coming into play now. So in order for the British factory makers and the British companies to benefit and to be able to compete worldwide, you now had to make the East Indian textile market more expensive. So to do that, you'd have to impose tariffs and protectionist policies. So to even get their product out, they'd have to pay more on top of the cost to make it. You get the point? So now, they would be, to get cotton before, let's say you had to get a bolt of cotton. Let's say it cost you $5 to get in East India. Another $5 to mail it over to Britain. And because of the Industrial Revolution, the factory was making a bolt cotton at the price of $30. To make the factories competitive with the East Indian market, you impose tariffs, import tariffs, trade, embargo, to bring the price up from $10 to get the cotton from India to Britain. You might invoke a port tax of 100%. So now that goes up to $20. And on top of that, you have clearance fees, storage fees, this, that. Before long, you're looking at 26, 27 pounds to bring that cotton from India to Britain, but you have a factory, a homegrown factory making it for 30, you might say, you know what? Let's support homegrown business. Let's just buy home. You get the point? That's how the white man ensures the survival of his economy. He makes sure you can't sell yours because he increases the price of yours. It's called embargoes, tariffs. What's another word for it? What's another word for it?
Boycotts. What?
Boycotts is one. Something else. Let me give it to you for time's sake. Let me see if anybody on the Facebook have it. It's another word for all the tariffs and the embargoes. Mark of the beast.
Mark of the beast.
You understand?
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
Because no, with here, they're doing it for their survival. Usually it's done for the punishment of a nation. All right? Pick up Captain Ashaparium. Ash brought out a story last week with what America has been doing to Puerto Rico for, maybe the last 100 years, right? There's an act that America has called the Jones Act, also known as the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, right? It's a United States federal statute that provides the promotion and maintenance of merchant marine, right? Among other purposes, the law regulates maritime commerce in U.S. waters, and between U.S. ports. So it controls any sort of trade going on in U.S. waters. You get the point? Objectives and purpose. The intention of Congress to ensure a vibrant United States maritime industry and for national defense, as stated as preamble to the Merchant Law of 1920. So now they're saying they want to make sure they have a vibrant economic industry going on. National defense, meaning any ship coming from anywhere with anything, they would have to come through a certain channel, come to a certain dock, pay to have their goods cleared, and then they could move on. There's a cost for coming through here. You get the point? And also 1920 was around the time the Panama Canal was completed. So all that was, in terms of protecting their own money with the industry that's going on in the time. Because now that the canal is completed, that means more traffic of ships is coming in. So now what they're really doing. So now if anybody who is, let's say, America has a problem with Cuba. Let's say Russia is sending stuff to Cuba. Because Cuba is in American waters, Russia would first have to send the stuff to Florida first, which is American territory. The stuff would have to be cleared in Florida. Russia would have to pay a cost to clear it. And then, in order to sell the goods to Cuba, Cuba would now have to pay. But now they have to pay the original cost of the goods, the cost that Russia paid to clear it, and put a little bit extra on top of it for, America's trouble. In other words, they would pay 3 times the amount of the good because of this law. And Puerto Rico has been experiencing this since 1920. Even though they're American territory, they're not treated like an American citizen. So now, even now, with the hurricane, with goods coming in, it's the same thing. Or if you had to go and send stuff to Puerto Rico, or you wanted to, send things cheap over there so the people could get it and help them out, they would have to pay 3 times the amount because it'll have to go through America first. You understand? That's keeping people in perpetual debt because, of course, they want the goods. They may not have the money. So if they don't have the money and they want the goods, where would they go?
So-called white man.
White man for it. They'll go to the World Bank for a loan. They'll go to the IMF. International Monetary Fund for a loan and be in consistent debt because this white man just imposing trades and tariffs. And if you want to eat, if you want to buy and sell, you have to take the mark of the beast. You get the point? That's what the buying and selling is about. It's trade. It ain't talking about going to the store. It's talking about trade. You get the point? So now, India is experiencing because of the Industrial Revolution. All right? Read over that last part again. Even though the imposed tariffs.
Even though the imposed tariffs frustrated the Indian textile market, the superiority of the Indian calicos remained unrivaled, and people still imported it. Right?
Read one more time. Your sound went out for a second.
Right. Even though the imposed tariffs frustrated the Indian textile market, the superiority of the Indian calicos remained unrivaled, and people still imported it.
So you understand? So now, even though Britain tried to slow them down, the quality of the shit they were in was just unrivaled because once again, once you have a people who are under the same religion, the same law, the same race working together, they work 10 times better than, anybody else. You get the point? They work 10 times better than anybody else. The white man's technology is what makes him mighty. But his military is made up of people who go to war for a check. Cross there to Afghanistan and Iraq and, all them other places, Tripoli. You meeting people who go into war for the blood that flows through their veins. Who go into war to die. Meanwhile, you deploying people who go into war because they play, Call of Duty since they was 12 years and they think war is like Call of Duty. You get the point? And when you go across there and them little boys and them little girls barking off them AKs and, suicide bombers and they're driving bombs into you, you realize this ain't, Call of Duty. You understand? This ain't that. You understand? So now take that same spirit in a people who together under one thing and they're working, they're going to produce something that's way better, higher quality anyway. And then the quality of the East Indian textile was so high, even though the tariffs was there. And at the verge of the Industrial Revolution, the people were still importing the goods from India. They were still paying the money. So that make you know what? Them bastards was rich. They had paper. They had money. All right, go ahead.
It was not until the discovery and use of steam power as from 1815 that the Indian textile industry faced a market threat.
Right, so now the Industrial Revolution starts around the mid-1700s. Around the early 1800s, they discovered that steam power, brother. That steam work all day. In the East Indian textile market, it faced a threat then. It was rough on them then. Keep going.
The steam power made the previous inventions of the spinning mule and power loom more effective and efficient.
We did one more time. You went out a little bit. The steam power.
The steam power made the previous inventions of the spinning mule and power loom more effective and efficient, thus reducing the cost of British cotton by 85% and making it internationally competitive.
You understand? So now the white man, he discovered steam. He discovered that steam engine, brother. And he could now compete with the spinning mule. He could compete with how them East Indian making the cotton because he was able to reduce the cost of British cotton by 85%, brother. 85%, meaning if you're paying $1 to make this thing, you now paying what? 15 cents. So now if you already had a market for your stuff at $1, making the stuff at $1 and you selling it for $3. Now, if I could make it at 15 cents, brother, for $2.85, I could sell it for $3 and increase my profit, or I could dig into the market, drop my price to $2.85, $2.50, and still make a wider profit margin than I was making. You get the point? Because now I lowered my overhead. So the white man was he was digging in the curry now, brother. It was bad. It was bad for them. Because now Britain could compete internationally, not just locally in Britain, but internationally. And of course, white man to white man, if you could give me a product, either you have to give me superior quality or a good deal, then I would leave out the East Indian, and that's what happened. Everybody was buying from Britain. Go ahead, keep going.
By 1820, Britain was a leading world exporter of textiles, significantly displacing India.
So by 1820, the early 1800s, Britain done nyam them East Indian food. Them dotheads in shambles now, brother. Krishna can't help them. Vashti can't help them. The purple cow with the 8 hands can't help them. That 8-handed bitch who with the tongue out, with the set of knives, she can't help them. Britain done the stories right there. All right? Keep going.
Also, India's colonial masters imposed laws that dictated to the farmers which crops exactly to cultivate and how much crops to cultivate.
Right? So now we're seeing, because of the Industrial Revolution, we see why they was making between $1 and one pence and 150 pence a day. Because now Britain don't take their money. Now the colonial masters, which is Britain again, now because India is now weak, because they don't have money, they can't feed themselves, who would they go to for money? The white man. You get the point? So now when going to the white man, this is one thing the white man is. Once he realizes you weak, brother, he'll make you sell your mother to eat. He'll make you sell your children. He'll tell you bend over and sell your rear end to eat. Always have to come together, brother, because the minute the white man catch you weak, he's going to make everybody run through you. So now they go into the white man for money. The white man say, all right, no problem. I'll give you money. I'll give you money, but I'll tell you what to grow. Before, they were growing what they wanted. Spices, cane, whatever they wanted, because they was making money, so they was able to run themselves. Britain come in and destroy the economy. They need money. The white man said, no problem, I'll give you money. You gonna do what I want now, nigga. Who's the captain now? Read that part again.
Also, India's colonial masters.
In fact, if you could, brother, read it from the top of that paragraph one more time, just so that everybody is able to get it. You see, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm right. From also, or
what's the top of that paragraph? However, after the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, right.
Go to the paragraph before.
Even though?
Not even though, where it says also. However, after the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Right. Part before, where they talk about the Industrial Revolution. That's all I need.
Right. Can. However, right, after the Industrial Revolution, the table was turned as the textile imports to Britain were hurdled by stringent tariffs and other protectionist policies. Right? Even though the imposed tariffs frustrated the Indian textile market, the superiority of the Indian calicos remained unrivaled and people still imported it. It was not until the discovery and use of steam power as from 1815 that the Indian textile industry faced a market threat. The steam power made a previous inventions of the spinning mule and power loom more effective and efficient, thus reducing the cost of British cotton by 85% and making it internationally competitive.
Right, keep going.
By 1820, Britain was a leading world exporter of textiles, significantly displacing India.
Right, so Britain came over and took over what India was dealing with, right, where they was in charge of the world, right? So go ahead. Also,
right. Also, India's colonial masters imposed laws that dictated to the farmers which crops exactly to cultivate and how much cultivate and how much crops to cultivate.
Right, they told them exactly what to cultivate and how much. Why is the white man doing that? He trying to control their money. He telling them what he wants and how much, because if they make too much, they could start to sell to the white man's competitors. He only want them to sell to him so he could sell internationally. You get the point?
Okay.
Keep going.
Right. This led to a situation when no food crops were cultivated because all the land.
Read it one more time. You timed out a little bit there.
Right. Come on. This led to a situation where no food crops were cultivated because all the land was dictated to production of raw materials for the British industries.
Right? So this, what the white man did by stipulating what they could cultivate, it led to a situation where India was not producing enough food for India, because all the land that was dedicated to the production of food was now dedicated to the production of raw materials for the British industry. So now we're talking about grow more cotton, spices, stuff like that, stuff that Britain could get. You understand? But of course, home there, they ain't getting nothing. So now you see the climate. Now this was what, 1815, 1820?
Okay. 1820.
When in 1820, when did the Fat El Razak, God cursed that ship, when did the Fat El Razak arrive in Trinidad?
Stuck here. 1845.
1845. Now you see why they came. You understand? Now you see why they came. But there's a bigger plot. Britain gave them, this was Britain's answer to solve the poverty that was going on in India. Because of course, this the Industrial Revolution, it led to a revolt in India. This was the whole thing with Gandhi and all of them, I believe, all right? If I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. If I'm not mistaken. This was the whole thing with Mahatma Gandhi. All right, it was a long time, I believe, where they had that revolution. And right. striking and revolting and all that nonsense. And lo and behold, no, hold on, I could be wrong. Gandhi was a little bit after that, 1820, not 1820. It was late 1800s, right? They had already left by the time Gandhi was born. But the poverty that's there, of course, they're complaining. The Caribbean being a British colony, they killed two birds with one stone. We're nearing the end of slavery. Slavery starting. We have the revolts. Everybody starting to protest against the slavery. We're not going to stay there no more because, of course, money off of the cane and the cotton we was making. What better replacement is to bring the East Indians as managers? We leave, we bring them in there, we put the East Indians over the top of the slaves of the Hebrews, the black people, the Hispanics, the Native Indians. And now the East Indians get their economy back through indentured labor indentureship with the cotton, with the cane. And, we able to quell their taste in their mouth that we took in their mouth for taking the economy. You get the point?
Right.
Where we at with it? Where we at? Okay, so they told them what crops to cultivate. Keep going.
Right, This led to a situation when no food crops were cultivated because all the land was dedicated to production of raw materials for the British industries.
The time out there again. Yeah. Read from where it says this led to a situation.
Right, This led to a situation where no food crops were cultivated because all the land was dedicated to production of raw materials for the British industries. Right? The end result was famine and poverty.
Right? You understand? So in the other article where they talk about the money they was making was low, and then the famine and poverty, that's how the famine and poverty came into place. It wasn't famine and poverty because of a drought or some vegetative plague that was plaguing the crops. It was famine and poverty because of everything wrong with the earth is always the white man. If you hungry in your land, even if you're a heathen, it's the white man's fault. But no, the problem with that is the heathen is such an animal himself. Even though the white man destroyed him, he would give the heathen another race of people to destroy, and the heathens would take it. You understand? Right. The Chinese took it. That's how they're in the Caribbean right now and in Central and South America. The East Indians, they lapped up that contract. That indentureship contract, they took it in order to oppress black people. After the white man done oppressed them. You get the point? But meanwhile, I know you heard of Muhammad Ali, right?
Yeah.
No, you heard of Muhammad Ali. The Muslims love to claim Muhammad Ali, but Islam didn't make Muhammad Ali. Slavery made Muhammad Ali. Picking cotton made him. Being a descendant of the tribe of Judah made him who he was in terms of being able to stand up against the draft. When the white man wanted to draft him to go fight in the war. You get the point? Like I don't know if you're familiar. Ali didn't say, okay, no problem. Let me go fight them. Right? He didn't say no problem. I'll go to war. I'll go to war for them. No problem. I'll go to war. You know what I mean? He didn't say that. Go because I ain't going over there to fight on your behalf to destroy another people when you are my enemy. You get the point?
Okay.
All right, let me just play the clip just for context, so everybody is able to who's never seen it. I don't imagine anybody will have never seen it in the UPK. You know what I mean? We're gonna definitely show it for everyone else. All right. See, come up on the screen in a second.
Right.
Come on, internet. Don't be jamming me up now.
My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother. Some darker people, some poor, hungry people in the mud for big, powerful America, and shoot them for what? They never call me nigger. They never lynch me. They never put no dogs.
No, understand. Even he said, let me play it again.
Won't let me go. My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother.
He said, my conscience won't let me shoot my brother, meaning my fellow black man.
Some darker people.
Or some darker people, meaning the other dark-skinned nations. He already know they ain't him. You get the point?
Some poor, hungry people in the
or some poor, hungry people.
For big, powerful America, and shoot them for what? They never call me nigger. They never lynch me. They never put no dogs on me. They never rob me of my nationality, rape and kill my mother and father. Well, I'm going to shoot them for what? How am I going to shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children, women. How can I shoot them poor people? I'll just take me to jail. I'll leave more than...
Right? He said, how could I go fight for big old America when you's the one who oppressing me? He did not say that when presented with the opportunity to oppress us. You get the point?
Okay.
They did not say that. They did not say, well, listen, America, you oppress me. You are my enemy. And you know how they move their head. They didn't say that. They say, oh, shit, $24 a day? Nigga, sign me up.
Better formal education than he.
I'm saying you're talking about me about some draft, and all of you white boys are breaking your neck to get to Switzerland and Canada and London. I'm not going to help nobody get something my Negroes don't have. If I'm going to die, I'll die now, right here fighting you. If I'm going to die, you my enemy.
That's right.
As white people, not Vietnamese or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
You understand? You understand, brother?
Okay.
Like the son of a slave checked America, checked them white boys for trying to put him in jail for not wanting to go to war. No, America destroyed his people. And he could say, well, listen, I'm going to go across there and, you know, fight the Viet Cong and stay there and, you know, get money from America and build up land and take over the Viet Cong. Nah, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He refused it because the white man is the oppressor. And we just see the history where the white man oppressed the East Indians. It's clear as day. He take the industry away and then turn around and tell them what to grow. So much so they couldn't even grow food to feed themselves. They were starving poor. And then he come and say, you know what? I got this ship. We have a new venture. It's called Indentureship. You're not a slave. It's employment. 5-year contracts. You work the 5 years out, and you get a free ride back to East India. Paying you $24 a day, not just your $150 you was getting before. You understand? Okay. Where's the East Indian who say, I ain't doing it? You enslave them people and you want to put me over them to further oppress them? I ain't going. You my enemy. You my oppressor. You my opposer. Where's the East Indian that said that? They did not say it because they're greedy bastards. And they hate the Lord's people. So they came to, and this is the bigger thing. Those of you all who don't know, what's the name of the ship that the East Indians came on?
So like the Fatal Razak?
Fatal Razak. What does that mean?
Okay, I know what.
Brother, I'm going to blow your mind, brother. The Fatal Razak is the name of the ship that the first East Indians came on. It was, I forget how much of them came on the damn ship. All right, I think it was 245 was the first one. 230, somewhere around there in 1845. Fat al-Razak is Arabic for victory of Allah the provider. It was a goddamn Arab ship that brought them over. Once again, the white man hooking up with the heathen to oppress the 12 tribes of Israel. Just like in slavery. The white man funded it, the Africans rounded us up, and we were put on Arab ships because the Arabs were known merchants. The Muslims. You get the point? Even though the majority of the East Indians that came were Hindu, they came on a Muslim and Arabic ship because the white man paid their way. Fat al-Razak. It's Arabic for the victory of Allah the provider. You understand? Because the Allah done provided another slave master to oppress the children of Israel. You understand? Keep reading where he was.
Right. Right. The end result was famine and poverty. Right. Therefore, industrial revolution turned India into a source of raw materials for British industries, as well as a market for its finished products.
So now this is what Britain did to India. India was a source of raw materials for the British industries, as well as a market for its finished products. So the white man was making them grow certain crops. He was taking it from them. They couldn't feed themselves. He would make stuff and sell it right back to the black hats. The pimp game is strong in this thing. The white man is the goddamn devil. You understand? Like imagine somebody coming to you, brother, and taking from you. Going to school. Lunch. The bully meet you at 10 o'clock in the morning. Take your lunch bag. Take everything out your lunch bag and left you. Go sells it to somebody else, sells it to the cafeteria. Now you have to go buy food and you buying your own food at a higher price for somebody to commit suicide. That's enough for somebody to go crazy. You understand? That's what he was doing to them. And if you tell that story to black people, you know what we do? We would shake our head and say, man, he really oppressed them Indians. He really, that's how I used to feel before the truth. I used to be like, whoa, this. I remember they used to show this movie in Trinidad every Emancipation Day called Sarafina, about the South African apartheid and Soweto, where they would go in and kill them children in school. I remember crying for that shit. Not anymore. I remember sitting down and being good night. How they doing this to these young children? Not anymore. Not anymore. I don't give a damn because they don't see us in the same light. They don't empathize with us in the same light. So now my cries is for my people. You get the point? Keep reading.
Right. The Indian economy was dwindled because its industrialization process was slowed down.
Right? Not it didn't say the industrialization process was slow for them to build up. It said it was slowed down, meaning somebody slowed it down. The white man made sure he was able to be industrialized and made sure India was not industrialized. Made sure they stayed poor, stayed in the agricultural era. So now he'll take their raw products, produce something and sell it back to them. You understand? Keep going.
Poverty and starvation also became common.
Poverty and starvation was common. There was poor and suffering and dying, brother, dying. That's why you see all that picture with Gandhi all skinny and distended stomach and looking sick, because England done starved them. starve them out. You understand? So now let's go back to the other article.
Right. Right, from 6. Right. Displaced workers in cottage industries.
Right, so we going back to the other article of the dynamics of the Indian arrival. So we already went through that they came because the establishment of the British factory system in India, the famine, the promise of land for themselves. They were promised land by the British. Right, read from number 1 again, Galloway. I'm gonna make you read it over real quick, all right? And we'll press through. We're going over the time a little bit, all right, people? Let's go.
Right. The establishment of the British, the establishment of the British factory system in India had destroyed Indian domestic industries, including the spinning of cloth, and tens of thousands were thrown out of work.
Right.
2, famine due to falling crops and high food prices. Right. 3, the promise.
So that's what we just covered the history on that, right? How the Industrial Revolution destroyed their industry. And of course, how the white man told them what the hell to grow, took their land from them so they couldn't even feed themselves. Go ahead.
Right, the promise of land for themselves.
They were promised to be able to come to Trinidad and Guyana and the Caribbean and get land for themselves, brother. Pressed us, and they did not resist. Muhammad Ali resist going to oppress somebody else because he know what oppression feels like. Do so, don't like so. You understand? He knows what oppression feels like, so he ain't going to do it. Even if it's a heathen, he ain't going to do it. Because ain't nobody do anything to him but this white man. Go ahead.
The promise of higher wages in Trinidad and Guyana. In India, laborers were paid between 1.5 to 2.5 pence a day. In Trinidad, they could earn 2 shillings a day, and in Guyana, 1 shilling and 9 pence a day.
Right. So now they were promised land, and they were going to be given a 2,500% increase on their daily wages. Get the point? So if they were making $1 a day, now they're making 2,400. If they were making $1.50 a day, now they're making $24 a day. They were given a super increase in money, and they were promised lands, right? And they were given the lands. Later on in the article, you'll see they were crown by, and lands were lands that belonged to the British Crown, which means this wasn't no mean land. This wasn't rich, you know. That man took for himself. He sold it to the East Indians. While niggas is cutting cane, getting their limbs cut off for not making quotas, and we ain't get shit. But a new boss. You understand? Keep going.
Criminals escaping from police.
Right? Criminals escaping from police because, of course, with the poverty, rise criminals. They say, well, listen, the criminals could go to that colony and work. Where else did Britain do that? With Australia. They made Australia into a penal colony, which was a prison colony. And now the white man down in Australia is the descendants of criminals. And they destroy the Aborigines, brother. They did horrible things to them. Go ahead. Skip down to 6.
6. Displaced workers in cottage industries and agriculture, and laborers experiencing seasonal unemployment were forced to search for work.
Right. So all the displaced workers from all that from making the calicos, they had to look for work now, because now the industry that that their forefathers worked in, it was no longer there. Keep going.
When they got no jobs, they were ready to listen to the Euro-British recruiters' propaganda. 7.
right? When they got no jobs, they were ready to listen to the British propaganda. They was like, listen, what you saying? We could go over to the West Indies and build, but don't you all have the black people over there? Don't worry about that. We'll give you all land, $24 a day. No problem. Just go. We need you all over there. We need you all as laborers. You don't get a contract. They was ready to listen to that because the poverty was so hard. Meanwhile, even though we was poor, Ali say he ain't going to oppress nobody because the white man is the goddamn devil. You understand? Keep going, number 7.
Some Indians were led to believe that they could find non-agricultural work as policemen, teachers, clerks, etc. in the Caribbean colonies.
Now, they promised them they would get non-agricultural work like policemen, teachers, clerks, etc. in the Caribbean colonies. Now, listen, their people was not in the Caribbean. So if the white man lied, even if he lied and promised them the job of a policeman, who would they be policing? Huh?
Us.
Who even if he lied and promised them the jobs of teachers, who would they be teaching?
Teaching us. Yeah.
And they took it. They said, no shit, I'm going. He may not have given them the police job then, but they're surely the police over us now. He may not have given them the teachers then, but they're surely the teachers over us now. Clerks, etc., which means doctors, lawyers. He didn't give that to them then, but they're surely the doctors and the lawyers over us now. And them bastards took the deal. You understand?
Contacts with returning relatives and friends who came back home with money encouraged Indians to want to migrate.
Right? So now they had contact with friends and family who came back home, meaning what? Their contract was finished. At the end of a certain amount of years, they was able to leave and go back home for free. And them bastards came back home with money. Money. Next week, I'm going to try to get a draft or a copy of an indentureship contract for you so you can see what they got. Brother, they didn't have to pay for lodging. As far as I could remember. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, forgive me. But as far as I remember from the history I learned before as a boy, they didn't even have to pay for lodging. All they went to do there was work in the fields and, you know, grow shit and stack money and go back home. So they come back to India, brother, with money. They inspired more Indians to want to go. So yeah, man, you all go across there, man, they work easy. Yeah, don't worry about them niggas. Them niggas is no threat. They beat down and broke. Yeah, but they oppress them too. Don't worry about them money flowing. Go get your money, $24 a day. And I work for 5 years. You know how much money is that? All right, no problem. No problem. Hare Krishna. And they jump on the ship and they come over there to oppress us more. You understand? Now you see my issue with the East Indian. Don't never let them tell you they were slaves too. Don't never let them tell you that they came across here just like us. And never let no East Indian talk no shit to you about nothing. They're a bunch of parasites. Weak parasites. Keep going.
Okay. The religious breakdown of the Indians who came to Trinidad is as follows. 85.3% Hindus, 14% Muslims, and 0.0% Christians.
0.07%. Right, with Christians. So 85.3% was Hindus, 14% Muslims, less than 1% was Christians.
Indeed, the last Euro-British ship to bring Indians from India was the Ganges.
The Ganges, right?
The Ganges.
The Ganges is a famous river in India, right? You remember? You ever heard? I know. I don't know if you know. There's a Trinidad called Brother Marvin when he sang the song Jahaji by Brotherhood of the Boat.
No, I never really listened to.
Okay, maybe towards the end of the class, maybe I'll look for this because it's evil. Our music is calypso and soca music. Our black calypsonians and soca artists always sing a tribute to East Indians, always. And he had a song called Jahaji Bai, which is Hindi for Brotherhood of the Boat, meaning even though we two races, we share one commonality of coming over here as immigrants on the boat, right? You came on the Fatal Razak, I came on the good ship Jesus. And one of the lyrics in the song is where the Ganges meet the Nile, Jahaji Bai, because of course the Nile is a river in Africa. They're thinking we African, meaning you know we all coming together. That witchcraft act, witchcraft. And as a young man in Trinidad, if you ain't have nobody teaching you right from wrong, you're gonna grow up with your arms open, thinking these bastards is your friend until they stab you and take your woman and take your money. You get the point? Keep going.
The journey from India around the Cape of Good Hope, Africa, and then to the Caribbean took about 5 months.
Go ahead.
On May 30th, 1845, 225 Indians arrived at Nelson Island, Trinidad, on the Muslim-owned vessel Fatal Razak.
You understand? Go ahead.
Only 6 Indians died during that journey via the Kala Pani or Middle Passage.
Them bastards call it the Middle Passage. The slave route was always called the Middle Passage. Them bastards have a name for their journey into employment, and they call it the Middle Passage. You see what's going on, Ark? I could never respect an East Indian, brother. I could never look at him with respect. I could never look at him as, okay, you was oppressed too. I don't have no beef with you. I have a serious beef with you. I have a serious beef with you. And furthermore, what you're doing to our people today is ridiculous. You have hundreds of years of oppression to pay for. All right, keep going. Quickly, let's get it.
The makeup of Indians who came to Trinidad consisted of men and women between the ages of 10 to 30 years. They were from the lower caste. They were from the lower caste.
The lower caste, right? Meaning the lower social status or the lower social level in India. Because India had a caste system, caste, which is a system of financial wealth and skin complexion. The combination of both will take you higher. If you're a light-skinned East Indian and you have money, you are at the top. And so on, you come down. It goes up with the money and your complexion and your skin unto the bottom where you have the dark-skinned East Indians who are poor. That's how it's always been. Go ahead. Read it again.
Okay. The makeup of Indians who came to Trinidad consisted of men and women between the ages of 10 to 30 years. They were from the lower caste.
Shudras.
Not the Brahmins.
Right, they were from the Shudras, not the Brahmins. In other words, they were slumdog millionaire. Not Shah Rukh Khan and them from Bollywood. Not them who you be seeing in Bollywood dancing and shaking the head all on Bollywood. They wasn't them. They was slumdog millionaire. The one who jumping down in the whole tub of shit in the back of the outhouse. That's them who came. You get the point? The one who on the side of the street begging. That's them who came. You get the point? I know they want to look down on me like I'm some kind of dog when in their own land they're dogs. You get my point? They're Shudras, not Brahmins. All right, go ahead. And of course, this is like a family name. Brahmins is a famous family name in India. Of course, they are the light-skinned, rich ones. All right, go ahead.
There were agricultural workers. 40 women to 100 men were selected. Right? On the ship's vessels, single men and women and married couples were separated and given separated cabins.
They was given what?
Separated cabins.
Nah, man, you reading that wrong. You sure they wasn't put in the bottom of a slave ship and chained?
No, they was given separated cabins.
So you mean they was given rooms?
Can.
Wow. But an East Indian gonna meet me and tell me he is the same as me. He went through oppression just like me, and he was a slave just like me. Brother, I don't know if I could take too much more of it tonight. Salakia. I don't know. This is rough, brother. This is rough. Keep going.
The Indians came to Trinidad from the following towns in India: Calcutta, Madras, Pondicherry, Punjab, Lahore, Karachi, Bihar,
right,
Hyderabad.
Read no more of that fucking, garbage language. Keep going.
As of this writing, the 29th of May 2011, the umbilical ancestry cord of this historic, unforgettable journey is still etched in the names of streets in St. James location.
Right. So, okay. The East Indians, when they first came, they settled in St. James. Right? St. James is a district of Port of Spain. Everybody knows St. James. You're going down in the west. All right?
Right.
St. James, I mean, when I was there, it was a good place to hang out. The nightlife and shit, St. James is always vibrant. Always have a bar open. Smokey and Bunty was a famous place in St. James. I don't know if they're still open. And St. James nightlife was good and vibrant. You have a vehicle, you have some money, you want decent nightlife, you go down St. James. All right? St. James, where they would they settled, right? St. James is also known for its diverse multicultural activities because, of course, you had us black people there, you had the East Indians, the Chinese, everything, right? In 1824, Salakia, no, not as I want. Hold on. What I'm looking for. All right. Belmont. Belmont is another district of Port of Spain, right? Belmont's settlement was African in origin. And of course, I'm saying African because that's what the article says. But of course, we're talking about, the descendants of the slaves. The descendants of the slaves more or less settled in Belmont. All right? In St. James, the city's most westerly suburb, the influence was decidedly East Indian. St. James also was a sugarcane estate, and the workers were largely East Indians who arrived in Trinidad as indentured laborers, which means the majority of the workforce was East Indians who came as laborers. The rest of the workforce was black people who came as slaves, right? The streets of St. James bear witness to its earliest inhabitants with names such as Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Benares, Ganges, and so on. Right? St. James is also the mecca of the annual Jose Festival, which is, I believe, it's an East Indian festival with tassa drumming. Right? They also have small effigies of mosques and they have parades through the streets. Right? Even St. James itself, the streets are named after the East Indians, but even some of the infrastructure is East Indian in nature. Let me see if I could pull up. I don't know is that arc still there, Galawan, when you're going into St. James, where it says "Welcome to St. James"?
Yes. Next by the police barracks, yeah.
Right, that arc has been there all the time. All right. Welcome to St. James. Let me see if I get a good picture of it. All right. You're seeing this here, right? Oh, God. All right. Is this showing? This is the arc here. It says St. James, Port of Spain. The whole design is East Indian in nature. See these little things that you see. If you look at an East Indian temple, it's the same things. You see what I'm talking about? Right? Like now you grew up in Trinidad, you thinking, well, that's just how they design it. Nah. They design it like that for them. You get the point? They design it like that for them. Right? It's to make them feel at home. It's because that's their home. St. James. You understand? Let's keep reading. Right? And of course, as the article says, a lot of the street names in St. James are East Indian towns. Calcutta, Madras, Ganges. What was the other ones I read? Try and pull it back. Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Benares, right? All those are East Indian names, and they name the streets after them. But for us, we ain't get streets named after us. We wasn't allowed to keep our language and our culture. You understand? So don't let no East Indian tell you he just like you. All right? Keep going.
The Indian indentured laborers were given £5 and 5 acres of land to remain in the colonies after their contract ended.
Now understand this.
Understand
this. After their contract was ended, after they done make £24 a day, right? 24 shillings a day, all right? They was given an additional £5 and 5 acres of land to remain on the colony after the contract ended. What did we get?
Huh?
What did we get?
We got nothing. Nothing we got.
We didn't get nothing, brother. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So after they done make all the money, they get £5. And I think it's 240 pence make up £1. So we're talking about, brother, the math is going to make me go crazy. Math is going to make me go crazy, brother. We talking about now, they're talking about they're getting 24 pence a day. And 240 pence make £1. We talking about over 1,000 pence in a bonus, plus 5 acres of land to stay in Trinidad and just what? So what is the white man really telling them they could do with the money and the land?
Why want them they could become kings over us?
Thank you. Thank you. But now the East Indian gonna come to my face and say, you a nation of dogs, you a nation of ugly hyenas, you're lazy, y'all don't like to work. You ever worked for anything? You was given it. It was given to you. And instead of having some kind of conscience like a human being, you beasts proceeded to oppress us. You beast proceeded to live over the top of us and make sure we have no future. None. Because the white man done become your new daddy. You get the point?
Oh, God.
All right, skip me down 2 paragraphs to where it says in 1869.
In 1869, the Euro-Trinidad colonial government opened up crown lands for sale, and thousands of ex-indentured Indians acquired 10-acre estates.
Brother. So in the 1860s, brother, this was what? 20 years after they started coming,
Can.
the Euro Trinidadian colonial government, which means the British Crown, the British rulers, they now told the East Indians, we'll open up the Crown lands. You know, the Crown lands is the real estate. You ever hear you know what real estate, where it comes from? Real is a Real, like you know the football team Real Madrid?
Can, yeah.
Right, Madrid is the capital of Spain. Real Madrid is royal, or the crown, or the people who run things.
Can.
So that's the Real Madrid. That club belongs to the rich of Madrid. You understand?
Can.
Real estate or real estate. The land is the government's own. It's owned by the people who run things. You understand? So they open up the real estate or the crown lands, the lands that belonged to the British crown, to these East Indians, after 20 years on a contract of being indentured laborers, where they was getting 24 pence a day, and then given a bonus of damn near 1,200 pence plus 5 acres. These bastards was able to now go buy prime land, prime real estate, and they said thousands of ex-indentured laborers acquired 10-acre estates. But my forefathers bled, sweated, and died on that land before you even understood what the Western Hemisphere was. Now you want to turn around and say we don't work hard enough? Let God slaughter you, East Indians. Let God bring plagues and punishments to every last one of you. You understand? Keep going.
In 1884, the Euro-colonial British government established the Peasant Development Program to assist.
To do what?
In the
To assist. To do what?
To assist. To assist.
Go ahead.
In the economic development of Indians in Trinidad.
Brother, the white man hired a new slave master, gave that new slave master lands and money, and then educated that slave master on how to oppress us financially. And then them bastards gonna turn around and tell me about how we too lazy and we don't work hard enough. And how we just a bunch of criminals. Who's the real criminal? Somebody steal your land, you just go back and steal somebody's land. You didn't even stand up to the nigga who steal your land.
Right.
Shit is sickening, brother. It's sickening and insane. All right? Keep going.
According to Professor Isaac Dukan, the Caribbean diaspora indentured dispersal of Indians is as follows. Right? Trinidad,
143,939.
Right? Jamaica, 36,412. Guyana, 238,909. St. Lucia, 4,354. Grenada, 3,200. St. Vincent, 2,472. And St. Kitts, 337.
Right, so that's what they was estimating the dispersal of all these East Indians that came. As you could see, the majority went to Guyana, which is around 238,000. Then around 150,000 came to Trinidad, which, you know what I mean? So those were the two major settling areas. All right. Keep reading.
Indian indentured laborers also went to Fiji, Belize, Martinique, and Guadeloupe.
Right? They also had indentured laborers go to those other places, but not as much as what's settled in Trinidad, Jamaica, and Guyana, and St. Lucia or St. Grenada. They had, a serious influx of them. And of course, in those places, the same practice that happened in Trinidad happened there as well. Because Guyana right now, even though Guyana, the land mass itself is within the 12 tribes, according to the prophecy, not everybody that comes from Guyana is Asher, right? You have a ton of Benjamites down there as well. You have, of course, Asher, the native people of the land, right? Because, that's right next to Venezuela and Brazil. And you have a great majority of the people down there is East Indian who think they're us. They walk, talk, act just like us, but they East Indian, right? The Guyanese. Not everyone from Guyana is an Israelite, all right? Make sure you understand that. All right, keep reading.
All right. In total, 1.5 million Indians left India.
Right? In total, 1.5 million Indians left to come to the Caribbean. Now, Trinidad population is 1.3 million. You have more East Indians coming than the entire population of Trinidad right now. Now you see why they are the majority in Trinidad. I think they are like 51 or 52% of the island. 47 or 48 is Negro, and the rest is Chinese, Syrian, and whites. You understand? Even though our people were there first cutting cane and working the land and bleeding and dying and getting lynched and raped and set on fire, they brought in these bastards after to make money over the top of us and then to keep us in line. You understand? So don't let nobody ever tell you that, that's it there. You could drop the article there. Don't let nobody ever tell you that, the East Indian people work hard for what they got. They didn't work hard for what they got. They were given it. It was a gift. It was a gift to them. They were given this in repayment for what Britain did to their land with the Industrial Revolution. They were given us as a, trade-off. You get the point? They were given to us as well, I'm sorry, I'm going to make this right. I'm going to give you these people to exploit. And that was that. Now, did it save the Indian economy? I don't know. But for what I know is it destroyed my people. You get the point? It destroyed my people. You understand?
Yeah, my brother was actually telling me that black people had lands, and he was actually saying that they were stupid because they sell their land just to go and fly in America or wherever to experience, well, probably, as he said, nice life. So he said, we can't vex with the Indians for having lands because when black people had lands, they sell all of their lands. No. I didn't really know the history or how they get land or whatever. So
that's what I was told that also growing up too. I was told that same thing, like how black people sell all our lands, and that ain't entirely true. They sell some of our land, but I know brothers and sisters who still have a ton of land in Trinidad also that they own. To those brothers and sisters who own those lands, those Israelites, those Negroes. Those West Indians who own the land. Guess what happens to them? What happens to the land?
When they sell it, what happens to it?
No, they ain't sell it. They still own it. These are the people who kept their land. What happened to the land that they kept?
It's theirs now? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, it's theirs now, but what is the what is going on there?
Okay, I understand.
No sweat. I'm gonna tell you. And when I tell you it, you're gonna know. The brothers and sisters who have land, East Indians go and squat on the land and build up shacks and they sneak. They'll have a few acres. Like brothers and sisters will have a few acres of land. The East Indians would go and build up a little shack, a hut somewhere in the far end behind trees and bush that nobody don't ain't gonna see. They build up the land. And of course, okay, you own the land, but that don't mean you live in nowhere close by. You could be living 2 hours away. But this parcel of land is yours. And brother, if you don't have no crops growing there, no trees or nothing growing, you may not go check that land for years. That land just there until the borough or the council send you a letter saying you need to go cut the grass or maintain the land. So East Indians would move on the land, squat on the land. And in about 8 or 10 years, if you ain't come back, brother, it's common where the older generation own land, they're holding on to it to see which one of the younger generation they could pass it to keep the land. 5, 10 years pass, ain't nobody really go check the upkeep of the land. Or some East Indians would tell you, listen, I need a place to stay. Let me stay on the land. I'll maintain it for you. And before long, they done build up a full concrete structure on your land and go into court to take the land from you with what they call squatter rights. You understand? Does that sound strange, Galawan?
Nah, that don't sound. That's normal.
Say it again.
That's normal, yeah.
That's normal. That's what East Indians do. That's normal because they're a bunch of greedy bastards. You understand? So now the brother who said that he don't know no better, ain't nobody really go through the history of how they came across here. But this is why the Israelite school of UPK is so important, because we get to the bottom line and truth of everything. Right? These people oppress us daily. And right now we in a very bad position because the younger generation is all about this one love. All of we black, we same blood. The older generation doesn't get beat out and silenced. So ain't nobody there teaching the truth about these East Indians, about these heathens in the country. And the country going to hell, brother. Every day I watching pictures of some brother laid out in the street. Every single day. Right? With them new Facebook news people and the newspapers. Right now any brother gets shot, they put in this picture up. With him bent up on the ground, blood coming out, brains blown out. And they put in a picture, another bandit, another thief. Like what it was 2 days ago, some brother from Santa Cruz, his last name is Villafana, right? I remember the last name because I went to school with a brother called his family is Villafana, right? And this brother, they say they have him on tape trying to rob some woman, and some undercover security guard pull a gun out and blow the brother head off. I don't know if you saw it. You heard about it?
Can.
You know what I mean? And everybody is saying, not everybody, but the comments that I read, which was 90% East Indian, was like, it's about time. Good job, security officer. Blow their brains out. Let all of them die. Blah, 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 blah. But a few months ago, when they had some East Indian drug dealers and somebody sprayed the whole car and they all died, the East Indian community was up in arms saying how you all could show these people like that. They have their family, blah, blah, blah. So when it comes to them, there's sympathy. But when it comes to us, kill them niggas. You get the point? Like that's the whole vibe on the country, and it's because there's nobody there. But brother, you're gonna be released soon to start teaching the words of the Lord, brother, and raising us up, and you're gonna be doing what your name is, which is revolution. You're gonna go down, you're gonna hit the streets, and you're gonna fish brothers out to help you in this work. And the Lord is going to bless you to raise that nation up. Because we need it. If we don't have it, brother, in another 5 or 10 years, black people would just be fully acceptant that we are just second-class citizens and the East Indian is better than us. Because right now, it's about this close to that. It's about this close to black people feeling like, if an East Indian is there and a Chinese is there, a black person will just go to the back of the line. You understand? Like, that's how we are as a mentality. Where we don't look at ourselves as we better than them and we over them. But we looking at it like, no, they over us. You understand? And once again, this is the curses that the Lord, this is the punishment we have from the Lord from disobeying him. This is the last scripture, then we're going to close out, all right? Give me Deuteronomy 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 28.
And not one, yeah, you can start at 1.
Okay. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right? If we were to obey the Lord, he would set us on high above all nations on the earth. Give me verse 15. Right? If you obey all his laws and statutes, he would put us over the top of the East Indians, over the top of the Chinese and the Africans who were oppressing us, and the Assyrians. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28 verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right? That if we disobey the Lord, he said all these curses will come upon us and overtake us. All right? And one of these curses is what we're going through right now. Give me verse 43.
Verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
East Indian Indentureship, they brought strangers amongst us. Strangers. After they done had us there working for them for 200 years, they brought strangers in. And they got up above us very high. And we came down very low. You understand? Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt lend not, and thou shalt not lend to him.
You understand? And who runs all the banks in the country? East Indians, right? The Assyrians, white man. They are the ones who provide for us, but they will never be in a position where we provide for them. You understand? Even them East Indians who is the drug dealers, their muscle is brothers. The brothers who, the brothers who doing all the hits and running the drugs for them is brothers. So of course we take the charges, but we are never the big kingpin and have little East Indians running all over the place slinging drugs. That's never the case. The case is always brothers getting shot, brothers in jail, and when you get to the bottom of it, is a big kingpin like Dole Chady, who is on top of everybody. Right? Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Right? They will always be over the top of us, and we're going to be the tail because we disobey the Lord. We could obey the Lord, and them tables could turn very quick. Them tables could turn overnight if we wanted to turn. Keep going.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed.
And that's what's happening to us, brother. You see it on the news every day. 2 and 3 bodies shot, head blown off, woman raped. Just what this morning was a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old they found shot to death. Right? 2 teenagers laying out in the street somewhere. For what? Because we getting punished. We disobey the Lord, and now we have a heathen nation ruling over us, and we destroying each other. Keep going.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
Right? Because we disobey the Lord, this is what's happening to us now. You understand? We in a position where an inferior race of people is ruling over the top of us. And brother, it is killing us. It is destroying us. You get the point? It is fully destroying us. The way around it is to return to the Lord. The only way around it is to return to the Lord. You get the point? All right, so with that, we're going to end it there. Next week, I'm going to try and get some more info. I'm going to search hard for it, brother. to see if I could get an example of an indentured labor, an indentureship contract. You know what I mean? I don't imagine it's going to be that hard to find, but an indentureship contract and some more history on them rising up with us to be over the top of us and oppressing us that the way they do. All right.
Right.
All right, cool. So let's, you know what I mean, continue the classes and we'll work with it. All right, huh?
Right.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom, Yahweh, Barakah,